Bob?
I think we're now ready to
Thank you. It's on, Bob.
Okay.
Could all board members please take their seats? We're now technically ready to proceed.
You act on this, Steve. You got to do it as a package. Break it apart.
It's getting gnarly out there. Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Announcements are as follows. The results of closed sessions held last week, February 19th, 2008. A closed session was held pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 2 cases, resulting in no action taken. A closed session, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 1 case under Government Code 54956.9B1 was continued to the meeting of February 26, 2008, today. A closed session was held pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, county representatives, CAO, and Assistant CAO, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, regarding SEIU and miscellaneous employees, resulting in no action taken. And finally, a closed session was held, conference with real property negotiators, pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, property APNs as follows: 44-011-050, 44-011-049, 44-011-052, and 44-011-051. Agency negotiator Brent Harrington, or alternate to be determined. Negotiating parties Ryan Voorhees, Greg Opinski. Under negotiation, instruction to negotiator regarding potential purchase price, financing options, resulting in nothing to report. We now move to the consent agenda. These agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Board? Staff? 5?
3.
5 and 3. Any member of the public wish to take an item off the consent calendar? Okay, do I hear a motion on the balance with 5 and 3 to be discussed?
I'll move the balance.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 3.
This is a matter of clarification from the staff report, Mr. Chairman. Monies realized from the sale of vehicles purchased for general fund departments will revert to the general fund itself, rather than to the departments as indicated in the staff report. Monies realized from the sale of vehicles purchased for non-general fund departments will be returned to the originating fund, and in cases where there's a break between the road fund, for example, and the general fund, we will have staff do their utmost to make sure that the money is properly allocated.
I'll move item 3, Mr. Chair.
I just have one question on this thing. I see that the last thing at the bottom of the page is a 2007 Ford Escape. Is there an explanation about why that particular vehicle is
I
on?
believe that was accident damage.
Okay, I figured as much. So. Okay, move for. Oh, he
There's a motion. Second.
I'll second that.
All right. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 5.
Michael Walker, Undersheriff. I pulled this item just to pull the resolution and correct the date that was at the top of the resolution. It was dated for last week's meeting, so I've updated it to reflect this week's meeting. That's the reason we pulled it.
So moved.
Those in
As
favor?
amended.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously as amended. I have an inquiry to make before we proceed. I have a couple of notes saying that it's possible that our 1:30 study session has been canceled. Is that correct or not?
1:30, not that I'm aware of, sir.
All right. In that case, it remains on the agenda, and
I
we'll...
think the last I heard it was still going.
I had Ed Clark was in here this morning setting up, and he said he received a call from admin from Mike Miller saying that not to respond to the town hall.
There was some confusion about where we were going to be.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
we'll be,
just to
but it'll be
correct,
here.
our 1:30 study session on general plan, an update will be held in this room at 1:30 p.m. this afternoon.
Okay,
So
and
that
so
was
Darren, are you going to be able to take care of that then? Thank you.
All right, thanks for clarifying that. We now move to public comments. This will allow 5 minutes per person, 15 minutes per topic on any item not on the agenda. Is there anybody who wishes to speak under this agenda item? Mr. McSorley.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board. Tim McSorley, Calaveras Council of Governments. I just want to come over and give you a brief update on some of the things that are going on over at the COG. First thing is, April 14th, construction begins on the Angels Camp bypass. We are very excited to hear that. The prime contractor was able to find a bridge substitute that caused us a little bit of concern, but we are on track. We had a construction meeting a week and a half ago. We also have a meeting to finalize, wrap up some of the issues relative to Rolary bypass. I believe it's a little bit later this week. There are some issues relative to right-of-way, et cetera, but we are going to have those buttoned up here pretty quick. The second thing I wanted to brief you on is that the council did submit our Regional Transportation Improvement Program, the RTIP, to Caltrans. I will be giving a presentation in front of the California Transportation Commission on March 12th in support of that RTIP. That RTIP contains two fairly large projects, the Pine Grove improvement and the Wagon Trail improvement. And again, we're very excited about those two projects being in the mix so far. Of course, CTC does have final say-so. However, we've been given encouragement by the director of Caltrans, Will Kempton, to move forward with the RTIP. In fact, at 10 o'clock this morning, I will be meeting with a consultant that went through a selection process, RBF Consulting. We're very pleased to get them on board for the first phases called Project Approval and Environmental Documentation, or PANED. That in itself is about a 3 to 4 year process. We have federal earmarks to the tune of, and some additional supplemental funding to the tune of about $3.2 million to complete that phase of the project. So again, we're very excited. If you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer.
Questions?
Russ? Hang in there, Tim.
Russ?
Just a reminder to don't forget about the interim solution to the traffic problems or safety problems at Pool Station and 4.
And again, that project is still being scheduled, and I believe it's a year from this spring. I will again double check, but that intersection is slated for improvement under the SHOP program.
Okay.
Tim, I do have one question. When you say the construction will initiate on April 14th for the Angels Camp bypass, how are they? I've been told, and tell me if it's accurate, they're basically going to work on the bridges first and not work on the roads. At what point does Rolary bypass become intersected to where it will not be for through traffic?
That is in fact one of the issues that we're going to be discussing this Thursday, and yes, I'm aware that you wish to be notified when that is going to be cut off. It is not during the beginning parts of the project. The contractor is going to be using Rolary Bypass as an access road because their staging is going to be within the new right-of-way for the bypass right adjacent to Rolary Bypass. So yes,
Okay,
well aware
thank
of
you.
that.
I'll be talking to you. I'll see you at the next COG anyway, which is next week.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And as for me, as you know, the people of West Point are anxiously awaiting your report on the West Point Bike Path Phase 1, so I couldn't let you off without that gratuitous remark. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right, we now move... Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You didn't want me to talk today, I guess.
No, I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
I'm Larry Cornish with Mark Twain Hospital. I wanted to give you an update on some of the things that are going on across the street with Mark Twain. And first of all, Diane Grazer from the Calaveras County Chamber of Commerce, I wanted to share with those of you who weren't at the presentation on February 1st, the 2008 Business of the Year Award that Mark Twain St. Joseph's Hospital achieved this year. We're obviously very proud of this. Thank you, Diane. Some of the other things that are going on, we have announced actually the Hospital Foundation has announced our campaign to bring digital mammography to Calaveras County. Even before it was announced, we have secured over $500,000 in pledges and grants and bequests from our community, so we're well on our way to have digital mammography here in Calaveras County. I believe that the first one is going to be slated for the Angels Camp area, so we're very pleased with that and all of the contributions that our community is doing to bring that technology here. We are working right now on something called a health career fair. This is a new project that we're starting. It's actually going to be held at Toyon Middle School. It'll be the first middle school. It's for all 8th graders. The purpose of the health fair is to let our children know that are in their formative years and in planning their careers that there's some really good careers here in Calaveras County related to health and other careers as well, but we're focusing on health. We see the day as having about 35 different agencies and departments and vocations at Toyon Middle School for 4 hours to let the kids know what type of activities there are in Calaveras County, what careers. They can go away to college, go to vocational school, come back to Calaveras County, and set forth with their career. We're really excited about this. The CHP is going to be involved, the Sheriff's Department, AMR is involved. I haven't contacted Public Health, but I'm going to get hold of Jeannie Boyce as your agency to make sure that they're involved in the fair as well. So it's all vocational. It's not a job fair. It's just letting kids know what's out there in the world of imaging and accounting and all of those type of departments that we have at the hospital and throughout the county. So we're very excited about that. Then we're going to go to the other middle schools, and we'll probably have a yearly activity at one of the high schools so that people have kind of fallen out of the middle school programs can all come with their parents and be involved with this career fair as well. Very excited about that. In the area of physician recruitment, I know that that's something that all of us are wondering how we're doing on. We actually have 4 physicians that we're working with right now. 2 family practice physicians, one for Copperopolis and one for Valley Springs, and 2 pediatricians also that have been courting and working on contracts to bring them to Calaveras County. We're very excited about that. Physician recruitment takes a long time to get a good physician to our community, and the fruits of all of that work are starting to pay off, so we're very excited about that. And Russ, for your sake, I wanted to give you an update on where we are with Coppertown Square. We're working with Rudy Ortega on building a building down at Coppertown Square. We anticipate it being open around June of next year. Right now it's 13,000 square feet of medical center for that new Coppertown Square. And as soon as that's up and running, we'll probably relocate our family medical center that's over at Lake Tulloch Plaza to the new building. But it will be complete. It'll have 2 physicians' offices, imaging, physical therapy, cardiac rehab, a lot of those activities that a community like Copperopolis needs close at hand. So we're real excited about that. And finally,
unless you have any questions. I misspoke at the last time I was here. I mentioned that our new Carmen's restaurant at the hospital is open on Fridays for the county employees to come over and get employee discounts. I was wrong. That's every day. So every day of the week, county employees can come over and have an employee discount for lunch. So thank you.
Excellent.
Anybody have any questions?
I got a couple.
Oh, good.
Actually, I got a question and a comment. On the new property or the new building in Copper Town Square, will that still have room for the community service work that we've been doing concurrently with a number of the clinics?
CalWorks? Yes. We actually have a 10 by 10 room. It says CalWorks on it on the floor plans. So
Great.
we'll be there.
That's great planning.
Yeah.
And secondly, I just wanted the opportunity to comment. I'm delighted with the reemergence of the hospital and engaging the community and informing the community and opening up a much richer dialogue. I've heard from a number of departments here in the county that are celebrating that reemergence, and I think there's all kinds of possibilities that now present themselves for this community as a whole. So I want to thank you, and if you could please convey, I think, the sentiments of the board as a whole, that we applaud the progress made in recent months.
Thank you. I'll share that comment with our leadership, and we all feel it too. It's great to be part of the community once again. So thank you, Steve.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Larry,
Yes.
you mentioned that Carmen's is open every day. The board fairly frequently eats back here behind closed doors, closed session or so. Does Carmen's have a takeout menu?
You come over and get it, and come
and
get
take
it.
it
You
out.
can have it.
Okay.
No, we don't do takeout. We have a drive-through. No,
Okay.
no drive-through either.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Lockmere?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Lakmir Grewal, Air Pollution Control Officer. I'm happy to report that Carl Moyer Fund will be granting us $1 million for the replacement of the school bus program.
For what?
School bus program, replacement of the old buses or retrofit of the existing buses. I have contacted all of our 4 school districts, and they are very eager to get their money. There is one limit. There is one limit to them, that is 25% matching fund requirements. So all 4 of them said that if you can talk to the state, they are willing to buy 1 bus each this year, this coming fiscal year, and 1 next fiscal year. And I have been talking to the State Air Resources Board. This program will be funded for next few years. But at this point, knowing the school district budgets, if they are not able to come with the matching funds, I am getting worried. But they are saying that they will be including at least matching funds for 1 bus in each school district. Happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you, Lockmere. Any further comments from the public? Okay, we will now move to discussion and possible action regarding the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency's Central Sierra Connect project application for grant funding from California Emerging Technology Fund. I believe this comes from our administration. Shirley?
Good morning. Shirley Ryan with the County Administrator's Office. Before you is a resolution that the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency has requested the support of the board for their application for a grant from California Emergency Technology Fund. And I'm not going to get into a lot of the details on it other than to say that there's been a series of meetings region-wide with 5 counties. Supervisor Thomas has attended those, as have numerous staff members from the Administrator's Office, Technology Services, Health Agency, and Social Services. And Michelle Shelton is here today from Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency to give you some information on the grant application, what the intent is, and to answer any of your questions.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'm Michelle Shelton. I'm the Information and Assistance Projects Manager for ATCA, the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency. And I'm going to first give you a little bit of background about who the California Emerging Technologies Fund is. Back a few years ago, when SBC and AT&T and Verizon and MCI merged, the PUC had a mandate for them to put aside $60 million to advance broadband, especially in unserved and underserved areas. Well, they've done so. They formed the California Emerging Technologies Fund as their funding mechanism and gave us the opportunity to apply for some money. Well, last summer, ATCA applied for money specifically to start working on outreach and engagement projects that are at the heart of ATCA's mission of self-sufficiency. We wanted to expand our neighborhood information centers and work on computer literacy and outreach projects. Well, when we applied, a lot of other counties applied as well, and CETF took a good look at all the applications that they received and realized there was a sharp disparity between the applications from urban and rural areas. So what they did was they asked us to come back together to the table with them. They gave us a $10,000 planning grant and said to take a look at forming a region and applying for what's called an aggregation of demand project, because they felt we were kind of putting the cart before the horse, that there isn't enough broadband access to be able to bring the users to broadband. First, you have to get the broadband in place. Well, we are in the process of doing this, getting ready for this aggregation of demand project. And what an aggregation of demand project is, you map it. You go out and you find out all the existing services that are out there, what the final mile is, what the footprints are, DSL, wireless, all the different things that are involved. Then you do a demand survey where you take a look at the populations that are being served. You look at what the needs are and what the priorities are for businesses, for residences, and for local government agencies, for things like casinos or for prisons, to see what the needs are actually out there. And you turn it into basically what it entails a marketing report. So that way local service providers can step up and start applying for all the funding that's about to come down the pipeline to actually put wiring and wireless into the areas. Well, we're following a successful pilot project that's already in existence called Redwood Coast Connect. They're giving us the entire template. It's being run by Humboldt, University of California, Humboldt. They've already come up with all the demand surveys, all the GIS mapping information. They're giving us that template from CETF so we can follow that. But we're in a much better position than Redwood Coast Connect is in terms of our local connectivity. They have less than 10%. And in our region, our 5-county region that we're looking at, which would be Alpine, Amador, Calaveras, Mariposa, and Tuolumne counties, we have upwards of 45% broadband availability in the major population centers. So we're much better off. So we've decided that we're going to put together a package that brings the best of what ATCA can do along with this aggregation of demand project. And we're going to work on bringing the users to the broadband by expanding our neighborhood information centers. We've gotten commitments from agencies and from some funders to be able to do that, to actually do computer literacy and outreach projects over this year. We're going to look at planning for regional telemedicine because there's $6 million specifically set aside just for telemedicine. We're looking at opening a regional 211 call center, which, do you know what 211 is? A lot of people don't know what 211 is. 211 is like 411, but for health and human services. When a person has a need, they can call 211 and find out where they need to go on a local area for services. They can be screened for eligibility for programs. They can say things like, I need a shelter. I'm homeless. I don't know where to go. Where do I go? Well, the 211 operator can talk to them and tell them the different things that they need to do and places to go to receive shelter. But there's also an additional benefit for 911 rollover because it takes emergency, non-emergency phone calls. Ventura is a great example when they had their fires a couple of years ago. 211 had just started and stepped up to the plate and were able to take calls like, where's my evacuation center? Where do I take my pets? Where are my family members? They were able to take all those type of calls and take some of the pressure off the 911 system to leave those for genuinely life-threatening emergencies. So we've got all these things that we'll be able to plan over the course of this year, and we have the opportunity to apply for 2 subsequent years of funding to actually do the things that we're talking about. We also are going to be helping a local service provider that's in all 5 counties apply for a set of funding from the California Advanced Services Fund. We're going to be helping them with the grant, which is the actual infrastructure money to do the work for the wiring and the wireless, which is going to be a consortium probably of a lot of local companies. And the nice connection to Calaveras is one of the co-owners of this company is Calaveras Telephone. So Calaveras Telephone is very heavily involved in this along with Volcano Communications. So do you have any questions so far? It's a pretty big thing that we're looking at doing over the next 3 years. You know, both sides of the equation we're going to be helping with bringing users to broadband and bringing broadband to the users.
Thank you for that information. Any questions? Marita?
I wasn't clear. Is the 250,000 over a 3-year period, do we have that?
Well,
Or
we're
is
actually...
that we have to compete for that?
Oh, no, it's competitive, but CETF wants to fund us very badly. We turn in our application on Thursday. We can't finish it until we get all the board resolutions completed. Alpine, Mariposa, and Tuolumne counties have passed their board resolution. I'm here before you today, and I go to Amador right after this for the Amador board resolution.
Well, I don't want to hold you up, but I do have questions. Will this need respective county staff time?
Yes, it will.
To do that, and are the counties reimbursed for that out of the 250 or how?
Unfortunately, no. It will take all of the money for the aggregation of demand project. All we've asked for is in-kind time to come to meetings and help us plan at this point.
Okay.
We're not asking for cash.
Now, I did have two concerns. One is the private sector, if they thought there was a market, they'd be doing it. So is this to subsidize the private marketplace to extend?
That's kind of a hard question to answer. The private sector, in terms of the large players, AT&T and Comcast, don't necessarily have an economic incentive to come into a region that only has 162,000 people for the 5 counties. The smaller providers have a great deal of money, a great deal of difficulty raising the money in order to do studies like this to show that they can actually make money at expanding services. So we're going to help them bring that plan in for them. So in a way, it's a subsidy, but it also benefits other people like our agency finding out exactly what the needs are so we can meet those needs, along with social services, behavioral health. They're all very interested in what's happening as well.
I understand that, but it was to encourage people with disabilities, senior, low income.
That's correct.
Underserved through expansion,
Mm-hmm.
Comcast or AT&T serves portions, I can't speak of the other counties, but in this county, but there are many pockets of underserved areas.
That's correct.
So they would not be eligible because they're Comcast, it's in the Comcast territory?
No, actually, Comcast and AT&T have been participating in our meetings. They're more interested in providing content at this point rather than service. The local service providers, if they accept the CASF funding, have to provide 100% coverage for the region. So all of those pockets will get it.
What was the CS? What?
CASF is California Advanced Services Fund. It's the actual infrastructure money that the local service providers are applying for.
Okay.
It's very complicated.
Well, I understand that. I mean, my concern is it's not a lot of money. All of these counties that are part of this consortium all have large pockets of underserved areas.
They do.
And so 250,000 times 3 does not go very far.
This money is for planning, just simply for planning. They're actually applying for $6 million for infrastructure money itself, along with some other funds.
They is?
The local service providers.
You mean like Calaveras?
Calaveras Telephone? Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that services Calaveras and Volcano customers. It doesn't service the pockets of the counties that are serviced by AT&T and Comcast.
If they accept the money from the PUC and CASF, they're required to provide 100% coverage.
They being the larger providers too?
No, the company that accepts the money from CASF.
Whoever that is.
That would be Golden State Cellular. Golden State Cellular actually is in all 5 counties.
Yeah, well, they have terrible reception.
Yeah, that's one of the problems that they're going to be addressing. They'll actually have to provide 100% coverage, not just for broadband services, but cell phone as well.
I guess we'll level out the mountains. Okay, I don't have any more questions, Steve.
All right, Russ, I know you've been involved in this. Any comments?
Well, one of the anxieties that I heard expressed by at least one of the smaller providers was that Comcast and AT&T currently have their service boundaries specified. They are not interested in going out beyond that. And the dilemma that was presented by this one particular small provider was, what if we get the money and we spend the time, effort, and energy to expand the boundaries, and then all of a sudden Comcast and AT&T see the viability of going out and serving that area? Will there be some built-in protections? And I don't have an answer to that yet. It's interesting to note that Sonny Wright McPeak, who is a name that most of us recognize, is in charge of this CTEF fund, and I have a lot of confidence in whatever she's involved in will be done properly and have proper attention given to this particular anxiety. I mean, I don't want to see Golden State spend millions of dollars of infrastructure development and then have that infrastructure usurped by one of the guerrillas.
It's definitely a concern.
Yeah. So, did you happen to make contact with Keith Boggs about the...
Yeah, we've emailed back and forth.
Okay. Yeah. This gentleman that I mentioned has done for the last 3 years a very successful and quite an admirable job of training in Stanislaus County. So I think that they've already developed that curriculum. We could be our citizens could be well served by adopting that. So
Curriculum for what?
for training.
Training.
For internet. I don't know. Just. There is a component of our population that they aren't computer savvy, and this is a there's it's kind of to me it's a double-edged sword. I mean, if you currently don't have people using it because they don't know how to use it, then why extend the service?
We have a member of the board who doesn't know how to use it, and he has it.
I thought Steve...
I'm still using carrier pigeon.
Oh, okay. But anyway, Michelle, thank you for your efforts.
And it never breaks down in an electrical out.
Yeah. Just damn environmental Democrats keep shooting them out of the air.
Tom?
I think that this definitely is joined. This effort is joined at the hip with our recent discussions about economic vitality in the region. It fits hand in glove with that. I don't know whether there are other people in the audience that want to talk about this, but if not, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Are there any other comments before we move forward?
We're going to hit each other. Bounce off each other.
Hi, I'm Jeanette O'Brien. I'm with Calaveras Works and Human Services Agency, and I'm just here on behalf of supporting this endeavor, and we feel that the broadband service would actually make it possible for the disabled that we serve to receive medical, vital medical information over the internet. And also, there's a lot of job seekers that would have access to actively seeking jobs, because most of the jobs now are found on the internet, so it would serve this population. And we feel that this broadband service would be, very vital to the rural communities and the people that we serve. So we've asked that the board support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Gimbel. I'm a resident of Valley Springs for 15 years, and I plan 211 Stanislaus County. 211 is a 3-digit phone number for people to call to get health and human services information. As Michelle mentioned, it's like 911 is to emergency services, 211 is to non-emergency services. And it also doubles as a communication system in the event of a disaster. For instance, the last California fires down in Southern California, people were calling 211 to get evacuation information. Now, the day I launched 211 Stanislaus, those fires were breaking out. And we were actually sending calls after hours from Stanislaus and had planned to send them to San Bernardino. That day, San Bernardino could not take them. Last minute, I had to change, I'm a little bit under the weather. Last second, I had to change our outsource to Ventura. Because what it is, 211 is part of a statewide plan and a national integration of systems. that will allow people to get the information that they need to improve their quality of lives, but in also the event of the disasters. So with the ability to have the communications in place that were available in the Stanislaus area and what we had planned on in Stanislaus and in the communications with the other counties, we were able to do that. And as a part of an integration of the California plan, Calaveras and all the surrounding areas could be a part of a statewide plan, and having the broadband in this area could enhance that potential of having a 211 in this county.
Okay, that's good.
I have a lot of information on 211, but it's probably not my time to give it all to you today, but I'd be happy to come back and give you a full presentation on it if you're interested in it.
That'd be great. Will you be there to help us along as we develop this program here in this county?
Well, we're hoping to.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Ben Hewlett. I'm the sales manager for Motherlode Internet. And we're part of this organization, and we work on the infrastructure committee. And we urge the board here to support this resolution. We, as a local provider since 1994, were heavily involved in providing communication and internet services to this area. And we feel that efforts like this are vital to increasing those services. And you raised some good concerns about competition of Comcast and AT&T. That's one of the things we just have to deal with, and we're always looking for ways to compete. And one of the ways that we're positioning ourselves is to offer value-added services on whatever circuit, whether it's a Comcast circuit or an AT&T circuit. And we're also working for ways to expand our network. So we urge the board to support this resolution. We think that this whole effort is warranted, and it's an opportunity for us as independent business people working with whoever may be involved on the infrastructure efforts here, whether it be Golden State or whoever, to create an ongoing business model around the stimulus that these funds could possibly bring. And there's several areas of stimulus that could occur from this program. One is infrastructure, but also support services, the neighborhood centers that are part of the vision that Michelle is planning on. It all works together. There's a whole lot of pieces to the internet. It's not just the circuit. So we urge you to support this resolution, and we look forward to moving ahead and providing services in this area.
Thank you, Ben. Any other speakers on this item? Russ, would you like to?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Motion.
I would move that we adopt the resolution supporting the Amador-Tuolumne Community Action Agency's Central Sierra Connect project application for grant funding from the Emerging Technology Fund. And this would be to facilitate the development of broadband service to all the rural communities in the region.
Second.
So motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you, everybody, for bringing this to our attention. We now move to item number 9, which brings our auditor forward to give the annual financial report or present it.
Good morning, Linda Churches, Auditor Controller. It gives me great satisfaction to once again present to the board and the residents of Calaveras County our annual CAFR, which has been audited. And this is a 142-page marvel. You can't help but have a lot of pride when you know how much staff effort goes into a project like this, and then to have it recognized. Again, earlier in the year, or I think it was last December, we were recognized for our past year CAFR on receiving the GFOA award. And so part of this year's CAFR is that award, which is on page 5. Anyway, my main intent today is to take any questions that you have, and if they're not simple questions, we can have maybe a forum that you would like to delve in a little bit deeper, such as a study session, a public meeting. We can always have Bartek Basler and Ray, the firm that audited our CAFR come and do a presentation or answer questions. They have done that in the past for the grand jury. And I would like to highlight again that this is our 8th financial statement that had an unqualified opinion. And one of the main reasons is because of the capital assets have been tracked and audited completely. During this 8-year span, we have had 2 complete physical inventories of all county-owned property, which is another marvel in itself with the staffing levels that we have. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those. I see Shirley's here. If you have any questions on the MD&A also.
Why would she have, but isn't MD&A done by Bart, BB, and Ray?
No, the MD&A is actually prepared by Shirley. So that's an integral part of the financial statement of the CAFR.
Well, surely you should give yourself credit. I thought it was done by BB&R. It's very good. No wonder it matched a lot of your report for this afternoon.
I was going to ask whether the two were integrated, but obviously it doesn't need to be asked now.
Linda, the management report that they do, is that coming out? When does that come out?
Well, we were hoping to have received at least a draft. We have not received the draft yet. We usually receive it right after we get the audit report. And I think due to the lateness of the CAFR audit this year, I think we were thrown into a lot of other counties all being completed at the same time. Statewide, these are due March 31st to the state. So I think Bardic, Basler, and Ray, they do 13 to 15 counties. So they're probably embroiled in trying to do that for all their clients, and we're in that group now. I think we're one of 2 of their counties, or just a few of their counties, that have the audit report done earlier for the GFOA award. So this part was done earlier. Now we're, I think, in the mix with the other counties for the follow-up. I think they were just finalizing last Friday the single audit, and we should be receiving that hopefully this week or next week. And then I'm assuming we'll receive the management report. Have you heard from Janet? So next week. So they're sending the draft next week according to their staff.
Okay, because they said it'd be January 31st, but they, okay.
Yeah, I think that was the target date.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board staff or other questions?
Okay.
Boy, getting off easy here.
I know, I can't believe it.
Wait till this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We now move to the Air Pollution Control Board. Lochmere or Brian?
Good morning, Brian Moss, Administrator of Environmental Management. This item before you today is a follow-up to our February 5th, 2008 study session, wherein we discussed an extra hire position for Department 219 Air Pollution Control. And with that, agency staff is recommending that the Air Pollution Control Board approve the attached resolution authorizing a budget adjustment for Department 219 Air Pollution Control District. This action will require a 4/5 vote of the board. There is also one correction to be made in the resolution. It was an oversight on our part. On the last page of the resolution, we have, under a test, we talk about county clerk, ex officio clerk to the board of supervisors. That should be Air Pollution Control Board, and also chair Air Pollution Control Board. Bottom line, we are going to be bringing in revenue that is going to exceed the cost of the permit technician 1 for the remainder of the fiscal year. There should be no impact to county general funds.
What about the year after?
Year after, we're going to address in preliminary budget.
I heard that.
In other words,
Do you
we'll look at our,
anticipate it being a match?
what I'm anticipating for that position is that we're going to have the funding certainly to cover the cost of an extra hire. The question is, are we going to be able to cover the cost of a full-time position? And those are the areas where we have to pencil it out to see what we're going to be able to cover for the district.
Okay, well, I'd like to first make clear that this is no longer the Board of Supervisors for the purposes of processing this particular agenda item. We are recessing the Board of Supervisors meeting and reconstituting ourselves as the Air Pollution Control District Board. That said, we have three items in our order of business. The first is to approve the minutes of the Air Pollution Control District meetings held on June 26, 2007, September 25, 2007, and November 27, 2008. So I would entertain...
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes on a 5-0. We now open for public comment regarding air pollution control district matters not on the agenda.
I didn't see September's in here. Am I? Was I missing something? I saw June's and November's.
It was on email.
It was?
Yep.
Okay. I'll take the word of my colleagues then.
Okay.
Are you looking at me when you say that?
Emphatically no, I think is the answer. But let's if there's no reconsideration of our approval of the minutes, we'll move to public comments. If there are no public comments, we will now move to the item previously mentioned by Mr. Moss.
I have a question, if I may, and that is, we've been doing burn permits all along. The only difference is we are now charging for them.
That is correct.
Why do we need another position at all in order to do this? I mean, the workload, I mean, you know, you're going to come in and what is it, $10 or $5, and someone's going to write out a receipt. I mean, you know, it's very seasonal, mostly in the spring. It's for probably 2 months, 60 days. You issue 80% of your burn permits, I would think. Why do we need a position for this?
Actually, we issue burn permits throughout the year, and you are correct, though, in that after the first of the year is the bulk of the permits that have been issued. In the past, the account technician 3 position with the Ag Department has been reimbursed by the district to provide support services, to issue burn permits, to do the filing, to do those things administratively for the air pollution control officer. And essentially, we are busy throughout the year issuing those permits. So what's going to happen with the air pollution?
How many permits do we issue?
I think we're expecting about 1,250. Is that correct, Lockmere? 1,400. So 1,400 permits we expect annually. Between now and June 30th, we're looking at about 1,200. But what's going to happen is the account technician 3 with the Ag Department is going to be moving downtown to the Colombo building. And so we're going to be losing that support. Currently today, as discussed during our study session, we have environmental health, Ag Department, including some of the ag biologists, and even on-site sewage support staff helping to issue burn permits because of the volume coming in through the doors. So this is why we're looking at at least a part-time position for APCD, which would also not only issue the burn permits, but will also assist Lockmere in the filing, some of the accounting, and some of that accounting, of course, will be handled throughout the agency as well and crossover. But the bottom line is what we're trying to do is cover the fact that we're losing a position to the Colombo building in the spring, and also lessen the impact to the 3 remaining departments within inside of the agency that are currently assisting.
How much money were you reimbursing that ag position annually for doing burn permits?
I want to say that it was $7,500, I believe. I don't
so it was about $7,500.
The problem is we were reimbursing 0.15 FTEs where we found that 0.15 really wasn't covering what the true time was. So what was happening, like I say, not only did you have that account tech 3 position, but you also have the ag biologists and even sometimes our ag commissioner issuing.
Okay, but you were paying about $7,500.
Yes, correct.
Previously.
Correct.
My last question is there any general fund contribution at this point to the Air Pollution Control District?
As a whole, yes, but there will not be for this position.
Yes. How much is there as a whole?
I want to say that at final budget, the contribution was in the neighborhood of $70,000. Now, part of that is you have to remember, there's a match between what the Air Board gives us for subvention and what the county has to match. So part of that is about $39,000. Is that correct, Lockmere? So part of that is a given that the county puts in. Now, what will happen with the fact that the fees have been raised by the board, not just the burn permit fees, but also the industry fees.
Right.
With that said, the obligation from the general fund is going to be less, even with filling this extra higher position.
I mean, my hope would have been that this would have gone as an offset against general fund costs. And you feel that you truly need to have a part-time extra higher position between now and June when you do 80%, and then what, you'll let the position go in June?
Actually, that position would be good through the end of the fiscal year in June, and then what we would do is Lockmere and I will work on preliminary budget and propose an extra minimum of extra hire position for next fiscal year. But again, we need to pencil out the numbers to make sure that that works. But that is our intent, at a minimum, to fill that at a half-time position.
Okay, and you'll monitor this to make sure that the income coming in from burn permit fees is adequate to cover the cost of this position. And
Burn permit fees,
quite frankly, I think you need to cut back the position.
Okay, burn permit fees and industry fees both. Correct.
This position will do both?
Oh, this position is going to be not just issuing burn permits. They're going to be assisting Lockmere and many of the general oversight activities that take place in the office. And that includes filing, submitting paperwork, obviously the mail outs, all of those things that the district is involved in.
Okay, when's the Ag Department moving downtown to the Colombo building?
I believe construction for that building we're looking at May, I want to say. The lab will be in March. The actual move of staff will be in May, I think is what we're looking at for construction.
Can't we use that staff until they move, as we have in the past, and then look at it a preliminary budget as a request coming through the budgetary process?
We can do that, but again, what we're finding is that not only is that position that's in place today doing the work, but again, the ag biologists are assisting, the ag commissioner is assisting, and so is environmental health and on-site sewage staff, which is not a problem except for it's pulling them away from what they're doing. So at a minimum, we need to bring somebody in long before they move so that they can do some training underneath the account tech 3 and also work with Lockmere.
Okay, I guess one of the things that concerns me when I see something like this, particularly coming mid-year on new positions and particularly coming in the budgetary situation we're looking at, is I see no recommendation from personnel. Has this been run by personnel?
Absolutely.
Tom, it was discussed with us when we had the study session.
Okay, so personnel is recommending this position go forward? There's Francine.
Francine's here. We discussed this with Francine initially, and actually that was prior even to the study session. And because it's an extra hire position, it's not a permanent position, we didn't feel it was an issue. But I'll turn that over to
Francine give her recommendation, and then I'm through.
Actually, Brian and Lockmere came and met with me, but basically what they're requesting is to bring on an extra hire, which is temporary. And I don't really, in my position, if they have the extra hire monies, I basically refer them to Shirley to make sure they have the revenue to deal with it. It's not really my place to micromanage departments when it comes to use of extra hire. I do know one of the things Brian had mentioned is he did meet with Shirley and that they were going to be having a study session with the board regarding the whole concept of what they were proposing. So that's kind of where I'm at in it. It's not really a formal proposal to me. I think what he was talking about a few minutes ago in regards to coming at preliminary budget for a half-time position, on a permanent basis would run through my avenue, and I would then set forth a recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Other comments from the board on this topic? I have just one. This is kind of a forewarning once I take this hat off and go back to being a member of the Board of Supervisors. I have seen a number of departments come into before the Board of Supervisors and now before the Air Pollution Control District that talk about the need, as we have fluctuating workloads, some of them seasonal, some of them situational. Payroll, for instance, comes out and there's a particular need, or we're receiving taxes at a certain time and there's a certain need for processing. And in general, this county has tended to take a look at our peak load and try to staff accordingly, because each department is trying to meet its needs independently of other departments. And my hope is, both within the Air Pollution Control District and within the county as a whole, that we'll start looking across. Issuing permits is something done by many departments. Taking in revenues is something done by many different departments. Skill set is not exactly the same, but with training and cross-training, we can move some of our staff. If we have interdepartmental mutual aid the same way fire departments do mutual aid, we could begin to lower costs by cross-training people and being able to move people with the workloads. And I'm hoping that we can think about various permitting in that regard, and that we might have interdepartmental collaboration in that. I'll be talking about that a lot more this afternoon with my other hat on, but just wanted to foreshadow that.
Understood.
That said, I will be voting for this, but with the hopes that this budget process produces different types of outcome and a much more collaborative effort across departmental lines. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
May I make some comments?
Of course you may. You are invited to do so.
Thank you. I did hear Supervisor Tryon making some comments about whether the position is necessary or not. I think I mentioned a couple of meetings before too. The county north, they have 4.5 positions doing the same and similar work we are doing. The county south, they have 3 3/4 positions. The budget county north is about $650,000. County south is about $400,000. Industrial sources, gas stations, yes, we have little less than them, but our industrial load and the permits and the burn permits, etc., are not significantly less. I would say they are close to 75 to 80%. And I requested the board around the budget hearing last year, if something is not done, my suggestion to the board will be maybe involve Air Resources Board, audit our program, and say maybe the 1 1/4 position we have is not sufficient, or maybe we can reduce that. Under those circumstances, I will be willing to work with whatever staff is advised by the board or comes up through the audit. But at this point, the district staff and the district program is hurting to a point. And my request to the board is possibly involve somebody who could tell us where we can reduce the workload. I have industrial sources close to the county north and the county south. I have gas stations which are about 75% of the north and south. And all those permits are a state mandate. And some of those permits are pending, and the revenue could be generated to create another 1 full-time position. But at this point, if I can't even build those sources, inspect those sources, the state laws mandates me to inspect, verify, update, and document compliance before I can collect the money. If I don't do that, then we are not doing our job. Appreciate your concern.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, I believe you won us to that position last time we talked in the study session, so we will see whether the recollection holds momentarily.
And Lochner is correct. We are at about 1.25 FTEs for the program, for the Calaveras program.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion before we entertain a motion on the subject?
What about voting on the minutes?
We did.
We did.
Yes.
I heard the motion.
You raised the objection that you didn't have September.
But I didn't hear the vote. That's okay, fine. That's
You
fine.
raised the objection after the vote.
That's fine. I take your word, Supervisor Tryon and Supervisor Walensky, or board members, or director.
Well, don't forget Supervisor Claudino and Supervisor Thomas.
No, I'm an air
Actually,
pollution
none of you
control.
are supervisors in this context.
That's
We are
right.
all air
That's
pollution
fine.
control district board members. But thank you
I
for
move-
addressing each other so formally.
I move the resolution authorizing the budget adjustment.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing no nays, it is unanimous.
Thank you.
And that did require a 4/5 vote, which has been achieved. I do have a request for a short break prior to commencing with item 10. So at this point, I will recess for 5 minutes. How are you doing? Did you get Pat's message?
I did, and yours, and I called
The number over
the number, but nobody was there early. And then I took a pain pill and I zoned until I'm sure people were gone. So,
all right. Well,
but I had a real success yesterday. I almost didn't make it to the doctor when I came in. There were times I've been in the much pain I tried to drive. What I needed, no way.
How you been?
Singham did. He finally listened.
You're not going to listen tonight?
So much.
Yeah, I'll see you there. 6 o'clock, is it?
You didn't see it even.
You know, half the meetings are start at 6, and the other half at 7. Gross. It's easy to confuse them. Yeah. Show up an hour early or an hour late.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, we have adjourned the Air Pollution Control District meeting, and we will now resume the Board of Supervisors meeting with item 10 from the Human Resources Administration, a resolution approving a new contract between the County of Calaveras and Service Employees International Union, and items 11, 12, and 13, which are related. Francine.
Good morning. Francine Osborne, Human Resources. We have several items before you that require board action, 2 being a resolution and 2 ordinances. The first is approval of a new contract between the county and SEIU for 13 months. Obviously, when you're looking at a 1-year agreement, the key terms in there are COLA and benefits. Most of the other items are just contract language, but we're very pleased to have an agreement with the group. Traditionally, the board has always acted on the unrepresented groups at the time, and those are the items that are before you as well. A resolution for mid-management, supervisory, confidential, and those benefits include just salary and benefits. Those are the only things that pertain to that group. And then we have 2 ordinances, one that will need to be introduced for elected officials, and then the final for the Board of Supervisors.
My understanding of this is that these must be voted on separately, but can be discussed concurrently. Is that correct?
That is correct. I like to bring them all forward right at the get-go so that you understand the terms of each one of the specific agreements.
That's fine.
All right. Any questions from the board? Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public or staff?
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll give a comment, and I would say I think this is a very generous settlement with the employees. I think it was very generous with the DSA, Deputy Sheriff's Association. I think the employees need to be aware that the ability of the board to do more in the future is going to be significantly impacted by the county's general fund revenues going forward, and that this may be, the last generous offer for some period of time. So I will leave my comments at that.
If there are no other comments, I'll make mine. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? I agree with Tom that under the circumstances, in particular in light of the subsequent mid-year report, I know these agreements were reached before, or the agreement with the DSA and the SEIU were reached before we got this news. But that certainly, in light of that, this is a generous offer, and it indicates a desire on the part of this board to be competitive, to provide good services to the people of our community, and that we recognize that it requires quality personnel, both the recruitment, the ability to recruit and retain quality personnel, not be a training ground for other jurisdictions. And that is the basis and largely motivation for, aside from just trying to be fair. That said, the CAO has issued a midterm report card on our finances that brings to, I would hope, that people would understand that being beneficiaries of this generosity also takes some responsibilities, also requires responsibilities on the part of our department heads and every single person who works in the county team. The goal here is to continue to be competitive, to continue to provide a fair and decent wage and benefit package, and to improve upon that. The ability to do that entirely depends on our ability to be efficient, to create, as I've discussed over and over again, the kinds of efficiencies that include operational efficiencies, that include structural efficiencies, one of which just came up in the Air Pollution Control District. If we can, across departmental lines, stop trying to solve your problems independently and individually in these tiny little departments. Use the resources, look at the workflow, begin to take a look at how we can work together to accomplish our mission and improve services through levels of collaboration that have not really been practiced in the past. Only through that kind of internal effort on efficiencies, which don't include just operational and structural efficiencies, but also include technical efficiencies and cross-training so that staff can help each other out in a mutual aid kind of situation when one department gets in arrears. A good example would be the kind of arrears that we get in when we can't do supplemental assessments. How are we going to get that stuff done, and how can we get that revenue received in the year that it's due? In my view, there are many items like that, both on collections, combining, purchasing, efficiencies that cannot be handled individually in your departments. So I beseech department heads and all people who are beneficiaries of this particular set of resolutions and ordinances to, if this is appreciated, take the moment that has been offered to you by our CAO to participate in figuring out how to do this work better and more efficiently, and stop trying to solve problems in your little fiefdoms and get on with building a true county team. That's my only comment on this. I will entertain motions.
Mr. Chair, I would move on item 10 a resolution approving a new contract between the County of Calaveras and the Service Employees International Union for December 1st, 2007 through December 31st, 2008. You want to just do these in
Yes, one at a time.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I would move that the county approve a resolution as outlined in item 11, adopting changes consistent with the new contract with Service Employees International Union for appointed department heads, mid-management, professional, supervisory, and confidential groups.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, as outlined in item 12, I make a motion on the introduction of an ordinance adopting and approving changes consistent with the new contract with Service Employees International Union for elected officials.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, consistent with item 13, I move the introduction of an ordinance adopting and approving changes consistent with the new contract with Service Employees International Union for the Board of Supervisors.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Just for the record, that was the same agreement for all parties across the board.
All four of those motions give the same benefits to every one of those constituent groups.
So no sacred cows, nothing special or less special. We are all in this together, and I hope we'll be in it together for this budget round because it'll require that level of equality of effort and sacrifice to make this work. Thank you. We now move to item 14. It's a discussion and possible action regarding a resolution declaring the Board of Supervisors' official intent to reimburse certain expenditures from proceeds of debt related to the issuance of general obligation bonds. This is our administration reporting. I believe Shirley is the most likely suspect on this issue.
Guilty as charged. Shirley Ryan, County Administrator's Office. On January 22nd, we did a presentation to the board during a study session on the next step for the general obligation bond regarding the jail, as passed by Measure J by the voters in November. And one of the recommendations and direction given by the board at that study session was to return with a resolution declaring the supervisor's official intent to reimburse certain expenditures from issuance of the general obligation bonds. These are expenditures that may occur prior to the actual issuance of the bond, but are directly related to the construction of the jail and sheriff facilities. And some of those costs may be fees for architects, engineers, or other consultants. As a perfect example, recently across our desk came proposals from TRG Consulting, and they're doing the needs assessment for the jail as well as the grant application to the state. And these would be directly related to the construction of the jail and facilities and could be paid for now and then reimbursed out of the bond, as well as the architectural drawings, which are considered soft costs maybe for the construction. That is the type of things that can now be paid for and then later reimbursed. But it's required by Treasury regulations that this resolution be in place. Otherwise, only the cost incurred after the bond is issued would be allowable to be reimbursed by the general obligation bond.
Are we still planning on issuing them this summer?
That's the schedule if everything else goes according to plan.
Okay. I move on this resolution, plus the Sheriff's Department.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We now move to item number 15, which will be the resolution appointing 3 members to the Board of Trustees of the San Andreas Cemetery District. Bill? This must be yours.
It is. I'm going to...
Congratulations.
I'm going to miss being the mayor of the People's Cemetery in San Andreas, but I guess all things come to pass. So we have the board for the San Andreas Cemetery District Trustees has placed for 3 members on that board, and the 3 nominees are Stephen and Kenneth Arola and John Brooklocker, all from San Andreas, and they're all very publicly involved people that we know have been here for a long time, and I'm sure they're going to do a fine job. And those just need the approval of this board to assume command of that lofty goal. The job, of course, of the Board of Trustees there is to oversee the various business activities of the cemetery. This cemetery, this People's Cemetery, is fortunate enough that it is a district. There are many cemeteries in Calaveras County that do not have funding, and it's come to my attention over discussions, as Supervisor Walensky's been involved with as well, that there are many cemeteries in this county that are really failing in maintenance. The people who have been volunteering and who have been contributing to the maintenance of those, their families are dwindling. So what I'm trying to get around to saying is I recall last year seeing that the LAFCO has produced a report that is preliminary to an idea to organize these cemeteries into a larger district in the county at some point and see if something can be done to help in the maintenance of those. And this is a little off the topic, but it's my opportunity to remind the people that we know about this dilemma and that some folks are interested in actually working on it, and encourage the board members here that are on the LAFCO board as well, perhaps, to address that at their meetings. With regard to the People's Cemetery in San Andreas and these three trustees, potential trustees, there seems to be some question about how much room they have at this cemetery, where the boundaries are delineated, and so we have arranged for the survey of this cemetery as far to determine where the actual geographical boundaries are, and also to determine what the, for lack of a better word, the inventory of plots there that are remaining are. And that is something that hopefully can be done to other places, other cemeteries in Calaveras County. Those services, by the way, will be donated, so they won't come as a charge to the district. So with that, I would like to propose these three nominees for approval by this board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Right. Before we vote and while we're still on the topic, I'd like to request from administration. We had a meeting that was set up which was designed to see what the cemetery districts had in common, whether they might have economies of scale that could be achieved by cooperation, maybe sharing staff, doing maintenance. There were things that seemed quite possible to increase the level of service that they were able to provide. And we had that meeting tentatively set, but our previous CAO left prior to its completion. Could we reinitiate this through the administration, contact the cemetery districts, not mandatory, but if people wanted to get together for an informal discussion, Bill and I had at the time agreed that we would try to facilitate that and see what we could arrive at. And this is consistent with LAFCO's efforts, but we need to make sure that the people affected have some consult and discussion about it.
I noted the topic for follow-up, and now I have some specific directions, so we'll be able to proceed.
Thank you, sir. At this point, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well, congratulations, Bill. That's been a long time coming. We now actually, it's 10:30, and this is an unusual day. We're now at the 10:30 a.m. Board Matters agenda. Item 16, review of correspondence. I'd like to start this time with Tom.
Let's see. I did attend LAFCO last night along with Russ, and we're not going to have a March meeting, but we will have a water forum meeting in April. And on March 14th, there's going to have a special district forum at Ironstone, which is why we canceled out for the 14th. So if any of you guys are interested in attending a special district forum on the 14th at Ironstone, why give John Benoit a quick email and he'll make a reservation for you. Other than that, I think both Bob and I will be at the Community Club in Murphy's tonight. And I don't think I have any other sort of board-directed meetings for this week. So that completes my comments.
Bill?
Oh, thanks. Excuse me, this week, let's see. I'd like to remind everybody that there will be a retirement reception for Diane Quilitich at the library between 1 and 3 on Thursday, so I intend to be there. I will be at the Historical Society dinner at La Contenta that evening, Thursday evening. And on the 29th, Friday, I believe that...
that Thursday for Diane, you said?
Yes, between 1 and 3 at the library. And Steve, I think we have the Calaveras Mariposa Community Action Agency on Friday.
We do in Coulterville.
In Coulterville. That's it for me.
Do you always meet in Coulterville?
Usually.
Or you two guys are always going to Coulterville?
You notice?
Yeah, I noticed.
We like Coulterville.
Can't get much past you.
To lure them into Calaveras.
I mean, every time you mention it, it's, well, we're going to Coulterville.
Yeah, it's at the Jeffries Hotel. The renovated Jeffries Hotel.
Marita.
I had Ebbets Pass Scenic Byway last night. I'm also going to the Murphy's Community Club because Shirley wouldn't give me her Billy Joel tickets. She's going to see Billy Joel tonight. It was either that or Bob Lawton, and so I said I'd take Billy Joel. She said no.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm doing Fish and Game Commission this week.
Have you heard him sing?
I'll also go to the retirement thing, have a jail meeting that morning, and I want to tell you, in the yesterday's opinion page of the Union Democrat, the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors are going to be passing an inclusionary ordinance. And
for housing?
For housing. And it's been on and off, on and off, on and off for quite a few years. And they have a 10, what they call a 10-10-15 plan, 10 or more units. They have to price 10% of them within the budgets of families earning the county median income, which is now $55,000 a year or less. The prices of the homes would then remain regulated for 15 years. Now, the cartoon in the paper is so apropos because it says, kudos to the board for accepting the inclusionary ordinance. Now, if only I could qualify for a home loan. So I think that this is a subject that this board, the Affordable Housing Coalition, the realtors of the community, the contractors, have been batting back and forth for years now, and I really think it's time we do something in a more formal manner. I believe we have a housing coalition or in the county. At least I've gone to a couple of their meetings. I'm not sure whose umbrella that they're meeting under. They were meeting at CalWorks, but and I see Nancy Little here, former supervisor of this board, first female supervisor. I think I'm always saying that when I see her. That maybe we need to have a heterogeneous group of people sitting down to discuss this. We had a group before. I mean, I remember I was on it, and we met. It was very contentious. I'm sure the next group will be very contentious, but I think this Board of Supervisors really needs to deal with this issue. So Tuolumne is just sort of locally setting the lead, and I'd like to see us do something on that also, if there's board support. And that's all I have.
Russ.
What can I do to top that? Anyway, tomorrow, let's see, tomorrow I'm supposed to be going to the OC meeting, but I have some travel obligations that I have to conduct, so I don't know whether anybody here could attend that meeting in my stead. It starts at 3 o'clock. It's over in the conference room at the hospital. Then on Thursday, I also will be attending the jail committee meeting, and hopefully go to the Diane Krillitich retirement observation. And that concludes my report for this week.
As for me, I have numerous meetings, but only a couple that seem to be related to board assignments. We have the Krillitich retirement I intend to attend. I will be begging her to stay. I think she's been a real asset to this county, and regret her early departure. On the other hand, I know that her true dream is raising bees and farming, so I imagine that she'll be quite happy, and there will be life after county service. I also have the CMCAA, Calaveras-Mariposa Community Action Agency meeting in Coulterville, which I'll be attending on Friday. I also wanted to let people know, I know that you have received, all the board has received correspondence from regarding the Moke Hill lighting situation, which is another one of our tempests. We received funding to do that. There have been a number of large community meetings which supported putting that in, but some of the people right near the ballpark have asked for mitigations. There have been a number of those, I think 23 altogether, that have been discussed by the Friends of Moke Hill and the Moke Hill veterans, which are responsible for the park. And there will be a community meeting in March to discuss these things and see whether there remains any community consensus. Not clear, but if you do receive correspondence, please direct them to participate in that meeting, which will be sent to all. There will be meeting notice sent to all people within the district, within the Veterans District, which will have all the proposals put in it, so people will have a good deliberative process and hopefully reach consensus. That's all I have to report. How about our administrator?
Well, just to kind of go off the scale a little bit, last week I did a radio interview with the KVML stations down in Sonora with broadcasts over here. I thought that went well. I had an opportunity to talk at some general subjects of interest to the county. I also was at the Trivia Bee for the Friends of the Library on Saturday night, and with all due modesty, I think I upheld the county's end of things pretty well.
Did you win?
First runner-up, our team.
Mr. Jones,
good
how
enough
did
for
your
a first
team
time.
do?
My team from my office are good sports and let other people win this year. That's what we have every year. But actually, Bob did a great job, and he carried his team, and he got robbed. In my opinion, he was robbed by a bum question.
Well, and I want to say your team was so good it took 20 others to beat him. So.
What was the bum question, might I ask?
What is the elevation of the South Pole?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with the Western Cowboy?
Nothing. It was a tiebreaker.
Oh.
Yeah, we went through 3 tiebreakers, and that was the one that finally.
The elevation of the South.
Would anybody care to hazard a guess?
They'll never get it.
They'll never
sea level.
Are you talking about the ice or the
land?
When
you stand on the South Pole, what elevation are you standing at?
3,000 feet?
117 and a half.
Supervisor Thomas is close to the answer was around 9,000 feet. I guessed 15 and kind of engineered our team into sticking with that, thinking that the ice fishing would be pretty good down there, but apparently not. We were robbed, however, in the sense that the opposing team guessed 65. So it's not like they were by an order of magnitude, they were nowhere closer than we were, but by a mark of about 50 feet. So anyway.
Sounds like you lost fair and square from where I sit. That's all right.
Well, as always, council endeavored to put the best face on a bad situation. Thursday evening, I'll be at the Prop 63 forum at the West Point Community Hall, and during the afternoon, I'll be at the retirement commemoration for Diane Krillitich. That's it.
Could you repeat the West Point Community Hall?
There's an MHSA community forum.
Oh, yes.
For Prop 63.
And that's on which date?
On Thursday, the 28th.
That's why I have that in my
that's
book.
at 6.
Okay, I didn't have the nature of the meetings, but I will also be at that.
And there'll be one the following Thursday that I'll be attending in Avery also, at the Avery Middle School.
All right, thank you. Jim? Carol?
Before we go away from Mr. Lawton, could you talk about the presentation at the Murphy's Community Club? What are you doing up there?
Well, it's a double bill. The Murphy's Community Club has invited Feliciano Haran, who is the director of the Mark Twain Hospital, and myself as two relative newcomers to the community to speak about our respective institutions. It's a general meeting, and we'll speak briefly and take questions afterwards, so it'll be a good experience.
So you'll get the general hazing we afford all newcomers.
Yeah, I understand there were some large orders placed for tar and feathers. I'm not sure if that's for me or for the hospital.
If you come back looking like a chicken, we'll know the answer to that. All right, any other comments before we adjourn the public session of the Board of Supervisors today?
Okay.
I believe we now move into 3 closed sessions. I would like to remind people that we have 2 very interesting study sessions this afternoon in this building. The first being the interim policy guidelines for the general plan update at 1:30, followed by a study session regarding the mid-year financial report. I would hope that anybody who might be interested in helping us sort through that matter attend or listen in. Thank you. We are now adjourned.
Once a month.